Just comply with the police officers. Don't worry, guys. Comply. Nothing bad will ever happen to you if you just comply. Nothing bad will ever happen to you if you just do what the police officers said. So, Officer Tatum made a pretty interesting point recently. It's the basic point that you hear everybody who likes to simp for the police officers, even people who are ex-police officers, all the time. They always make the same point. Comply with the police's orders, and nothing bad will ever happen to you. Now, we all know that's a fucking lie. We all know that that's not exactly how reality ends up panning out most of the time, but people like Tatum would like to believe that that's the way things are and always will be. So let's take a moment. Let's go to the fan art section. Let's have a moment of brevity, and then we'll take a look at Tatum. Sky Lily 22220. Thank you very much for the piece of fan art here. I've been working on improving my drawing skills and decided to use Cirrus as a kind of model. It felt like it needed more though. So there's one of Timer-kun's tentacles trying to grab Cirrus, and a coin Cirrus is sitting there squishing a slime Cirrus. The slime is sad. Even the more artistic pieces, even the more like artsy pieces, still are made of memes and destruction. The next one is from Fine Point, a part of an upcoming piece I couldn't wait to share. Him ham. Is that a Blizzy ham? Oh no. Oh no. It's a ham made of Buddy. Buddy, get up off my head, buddy. They're gonna try to turn you into a ham, buddy. You're gonna be the ultimate life ham, bud. It's just, I don't know if it's better or worse than when they turned you into a waifu. You know, who cares? I'm kidding. Thank you very much for that one, Fine Point. As always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that all said, if you haven't already hit the like button, please consider doing so. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let's go ahead and get into the topic at hand. Officer Tatum. And he's going to tell us some very sagely advice.
Why can't you just obey what the police officers tell you to do? Why can't you just do what they ask you to do?
So, because sometimes police give unlawful orders.
And you don't have a chance of getting killed.
That's a bit of a lie. But here's the thing that I like about this particular video. We'll actually see how much of a lie what Tatum said was.
Cherokee County Communications received a 911 call indicating a disturbance, with several gunshots fired. Deputies arrived 20 minutes later and attempted to make contact but were unsuccessful, recognizing that there was an armed suspect present and the potential for a hostage situation. The sheriff's office obtained a search warrant and requested assistance from the Cherokee Indian Police Department SWAT team. The suspected shooter engaged in a verbal altercation with officers and emerged from a camper and confronted officers. Except most of that never happened. But video footage captured from inside the residence shows that when the SWAT team arrived, their first step was to throw a Rainbow Six-like drone into the home, finding that the two occupants were asleep in their bed. The SWAT team woke them up with knocking and using a PA system. Unsure of what was going on, the residents make their way to the door.
What is going on?
On their way, they find the police drone on their floor and pick it up. With their hands in the air, the occupants exit their residence. The woman exits the residence. After being shot multiple times, the man crawls his way to the doorway to put his hands out the door, showing he had no weapons.
Don't worry. Comply with the police officers. Just comply with the police officers. Don't worry, guys. Comply. Nothing bad will ever happen to you if you just comply. Nothing bad will ever happen to you if you just do what the police officers said. Except, sometimes reality doesn't work that way. Sometimes cops are trigger happy. Sometimes cops will just shoot you because they think they can get away with it. Sometimes the official story that cops will give is actually not truthful, and we find out later in a court of law that the police officers actually are the ones who lied about altercations. Sometimes, turns out, doing what the police tell you to do doesn't save your life. That's why, Tatum, That's why.
After clearing the scene, the officer tells him that an ambulance is on its way, which raises the question, why wasn't there one on scene already?
Yes, they're on their way.
The officers run a secondary sweep and realize there's cameras inside. The next day, the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office released this press statement, which is where they claim the man was armed and presented a potential hostage situation. They also claim that he engaged in a verbal altercation and confronted officers when he emerged from his camper. They then charged him with communicating threats and resist, obstruct, and delay. At least 3 news agencies ran stories about the incident, depicting the encounter the same way that the sheriff's office did, one even claiming that the man eventually came outside and confronted officers, forcing them to shoot him. However, once the video was made public, and it was made obvious that the statement was incorrect, the articles were retracted, and the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office released this statement nearly a month and a half later.
Oh, let's see what this statement says.
This
For immediate release, on the evening of December 12th, 2022, Emergency 911 Dispatch received a report about a possible shooting in a hostage situation in Upper Bear Paw Road in Murphy. Since the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office does not have a tactical team to handle a hostage event, I requested assistance from the Cherokee Indian Police Department SWAT team. Subsequently, members of the CIPD SWAT fired shots at an individual who emerged from the home, injuring him. Following the shooting, my office issued a press release about the event. The release was prepared by the county attorney based on information my office received by CIPD. Neither myself nor Chief Deputy Justin Jacobs were on the scene at the time, so we relied on the information provided to us by the local police department. My goal with issuing the press release was not to comment on the subsequent criminal investigation, which remains ongoing, but rather to update the public on a dangerous situation. The first time I ever saw video footage of the shooting was on January 18th, 2023. It is my understanding that the state and district attorney's office has been notified of the video as well. When I campaigned for office sheriff, I had several conversations with fellow law enforcement officials and the public about the need for Cherokee County to have its own tactical team. It is imperative for us to be self-reliant when it comes to fighting crime, especially during a situation in which time is of the essence, such as a hostage or active shooter event. I will be asking county commissioners for the funds to create such a unit when a budget negotiation for the fiscal next quarter begins. Thank you for your understanding and continued support. Guys, this is why people say ACAB. This is the exact reason why people end up saying ACAB. This is why. People can debate all the time over whether or not there's prejudice in the police officer force, but the numbers unequivocally say yes. There is prejudice. There is profiling. There is a lot of stuff that technically we do need to be able to use in law enforcement, but at the same time, when your job as a police officer is to serve and protect, and yet you do stuff like this, you lie about events that occur with real people, and then when the footage comes out that shows that you lied about those events after you shot people multiple times, this is not something that better training is going to fix. The officers that do stuff like this need to lose their jobs immediately and be replaced with different officers who hopefully aren't going to have trigger fingers in the exact same way, though that doesn't exactly erase the pain that people go through when this shit happens to begin with. So Tatum, in response to your stupid, asinine, and completely off-the-wall question, why can't you just comply? Because sometimes the cops are the bad guys. Sometimes, even when both sides are bad, the cops are the ones who lie. Sometimes, the police officer does not have your best interest at heart. Tatum, you may have been the best, most respected, and most goody-two-shoes police officer on the force. I don't believe that for a minute, but if you were, hopefully you could understand that not everybody else on the force was like that. Not everybody who's a police officer goes into that job in order to be a good person and uphold the safety of those around them. Sometimes they have a fetish for the law and decide to be Judge Dredd when they go in to be an officer. And sometimes, I'd say even oftentimes, they go in with something to prove. They are looking for power. They are looking for a way to exercise something that they might not have had their entire lives. And being a police officer gives them one of the only methods they can think of to do that. Parchment Scroll says, let's also not forget that why don't you just comply doesn't factor in that cops will still shoot contradictory orders at people or shout contradictory orders at people. Yeah. And we've seen video after video after video of people who comply with police officers' orders and then get shot. Some of them die. We've seen times where police officers will say, do one thing, then do another thing, which gives you a lovely catch-22. You can't do both things, and then suddenly you're getting shot. Suddenly you're getting manhandled. Suddenly you're getting hurt. I'm not here to say every police officer is the worst person in the world, but I am here to say I understand why people say ACAB. Because stuff like this happens. And it continues happening. Please remember that here in the United States, the police actually have no obligation to protect you or your loved ones. They're here to protect Capitol. If they protect you, that is a lovely coincidence. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. And as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.